First of all, it's great to have Tim and the Draper Venture Network here, especially in these, the troubled times that we have overseas. It all depends on how you look at it. So, when we started Bloom, Karthik and I started Bloom, and Ashish and the team joined us. We've always wanted to be global from day one, and we looked at I'd spent time in the Valley. Karthik had also spent time in the US, and we always looked at something like, should we partner or should we have one of us there? And we were introduced to Tim and the DVN network by Mohanji Jolly, who we know from past years. He used to run DFJ in India. And we made a trip to the Valley around their annual summit, which was November, about 3 years ago. And we're just impressed by their global network that they had. And Tim's belief, frankly, that entrepreneurship is and can happen anywhere, globally, and it is happening. He said a partnership would be very interesting because we can plug into their network, share due diligence, back entrepreneurs around the world. I mean, for us, we have an India mandate. They have to be India born, or there has to be some India angle. And we said, let's try it. So now I think it's the third year of our partnership. And we again, I think what is interesting is that Indian founders want to go global today from day one. If you look at the likes of Oyo and Zomato, and then on the B2B side, our Grey Orange, Robotics, Locust, Tricog, they all want to build global businesses, here from Bangalore, Delhi. So we just thought that a strategic partnership is the right way to go versus, doing everything on our own.
Mm-hmm. Tim, how are you looking at, how did you choose Bloom Ventures only? There are so many big funds operating in India.
It's a brilliant team, but the other thing it's interesting, even this morning, I realized that I even got more out of the network because Bloom Ventures has created sort of a new model for serving the entrepreneur better. And it's something that we can now replicate around the world. And that kind of thing would not have come to us naturally living and doing our business isolated in the Silicon Valley. The things I get out of the Draper Venture Network are really amazing deal flow. Companies I get to see from all over the world. I get to make comparisons about what's the state of the art in the Silicon Valley and where interesting other things are happening and where innovation is starting to happen. The Silicon Valley has at least a current monopoly on the startup world, but they don't have a monopoly on innovation. Those innovations are starting to happen everywhere, and it's really good to be able to be in touch with people all over the world. It makes our judgment better in investing. We get better ways, better best practices because we're all venture capitalists, we're all going to work together for years. So we want to continue to help each other become more successful. And then for diligence, we'll see a company in the Silicon Valley, we can compare it to all those other companies that are happening around the world. This is a really exciting network.
Mm-hmm. Sanjay, how are you going to work together going forward? What are the areas of interest together where you see synergies, apart from the one you spoke about? A lot of Indian companies where you have interest are looking at global scale-ups, but what are the other areas of synergy that both the companies can exploit here?
Sure. I'll start off, I think what Tim was referring to was the platform that we've built. I mean, thanks to, I think India's strength is really we're a talent engine or talent hub for the world, right? If you think about it, I mean, we're very proud, right from a lot of the Valley and tech giants, right from, Satya and Sundar over there with Microsoft and Google, and we recently welcomed
Yeah, you were meeting them recently.
Just met them here. We've actually built quite a robust platform where the belief, the core belief, Ajay, is really how do you help the founder besides capital, right? What does smart capital mean? There are lots of VCs that will pay lip service to that and it's become a buzzword. But we've built out a platform that is actually also working with DVN that helps founders with marketing, with corporate diligence and support, with finance and accounting, with hiring. One of the biggest reasons founders raise capital is to hire, right? To hire talent. So we have a full-time team of 11 and counting, which are mainly women, and that's another example. I think we've been very, very early on diversity and increasing, we have diversity of different kinds that help our portfolio founders exclusively with hiring, right from senior hires to CTOs to others. So that's more on, I would say, on the shared support services side. On the other side, for example, one of our leading enterprise companies, Gray Orange Robotics, South America and North America, I mean, the Americas are one of the largest customer base, and there's a large client in Chile, Sodimac, and we've exchanged information. We've got our Chilean partners, Manutara, who are right outside here, who've taken the longest flight actually, all the way from Santiago, which is via London to come here. So there is cross referencing on deals. In cutting edge areas like AI and ML and machine learning, or let's say RPA, robotic process automation. These areas are so new that everybody is discovering it at the same time. The founders are developing it, we are learning. So I think that sharing of information is another great example. Southeast Asia, Japan, I mean, the DVN network has member funds in all these countries. So as our founders are thinking about going global and expanding into these markets, what better place to start than tapping into that, right, versus reinventing the wheel. So everything from market access to using the Constellation platform, and it's only the start. I think we can collaborate much more.
And in fact, global expertise in technology, understanding technology, because you've been very successful in identifying some technology-led disruptors in the space. I think that you'll replicate that model in India as well. A lot of entrepreneurs are taking that route.
Sure. I mean, I expect to be making a lot of Indian investments. We've had great success with Indians who've come to the U.S. and started companies, and this is a country of entrepreneurs. They are everywhere. You walk outside and you meet a multitude of entrepreneurs with all sorts of creative ideas for how they can build businesses.
In fact, let me scratch that point of Silicon Valley and how Indians have done there. Sanjay, you've been there for 12 years. How was your experience? And first, you tell me about how Indians are operating there.
Sure, I think it's more than Indians there. I think it's always, you hear this classic thing of the grass is greener on the other side. And when you come in from the outside, you always an outside-in perspective, right? So most of the Indians who went there typically went there to, to go to engineering grad school and then worked with a large company, got some experience, and then, started something in Silicon Valley, or, worked for a long time and then became CEOs of those companies. We're finding an interesting trend. We're finding that a lot of smart Indians want to go abroad, but then they're looking to come back earlier. If you look at our top companies, a good 2/3 of them are actually focused on the consumption side. Fintech, we've got small case entitlement in InsurTech. If you look at education tech, which is a huge area, we've got Unacademy, which just raised a large round, including from Facebook, which is very interesting. Dunzo again, which is raised from Google. So what we're finding is that talent now is much more open to coming back, because the market here is just massive, right? You can't ignore it. I'd also say, what I'll say is that it's interesting that I find Tim being a great example that outsiders sometimes have more confidence in India than we do, because we're so close to the ground. We often think about what can go wrong. And I remember in when Tim was presenting or sharing his thoughts with the DVN group, he says a lot of us think about what can go wrong. You've also got to think about what can go right.
In fact, he mentioned that point in our early interaction. What do you have to say about what Sanjay is saying? Do we Indians are much more skeptical about some great companies around? We are looking at them with a very narrow kind of a view?
No, I think it's actually very, some of that is interesting, because I am now looking at pretty much every investment I make is one of the big questions I have is, does this go global? And so that doesn't really matter where it comes from. It just has to spread around the world. And with all these new technologies, they can spread around the world faster than ever before. So if you are the innovator who has designed something that works in India, it's going to work in a whole lot of other places around the world. And in entrepreneurs that isolate themselves to just India are missing, well, what is that, 7/8 of the world.